Hello dear learners, welcome to the third edition of our online classes. I am your very able Mr. Lukan Bless Joy, and today we shall proceed with our topic today, which is the Renaissance. The Renaissance. In our previous lesson, we looked at the first and the second half of the Dark Ages. We looked at their characteristics, and I equally promised you people that we were going to look at the Renaissance today and in detail. Here we shall examine what the Renaissance is, and equally we shall look at the factors that contributed to the rebirth of knowledge, the Renaissance or the rebirth of knowledge. So my dear students, before we commence, I will urge you people to be very, very attentive so as to understand this topic, because it cuts across other topics in our superior classes, where we shall be going to like Form 3, Form 3, 4, and even high school, because we are going to see the rebirth of knowledge there. So my dear students, stay attentively and listen to me, follow up with understanding. Okay. The Renaissance. The Renaissance started in Italy. In the 13th and the 14th century, Dante, Petrarch, and Boccaccio tried to show how important the learning of Greek arts and the culture was. The fall of Constantinople facilitated the study of Greek teachings. Many scholars took with them books which were written by learned Greeks. These books were later on translated to Latin, which was a common language in Europe. As a result, the books were consulted by many scholars, thus facilitating the rebirth of knowledge or the Renaissance. So my dear students, it should be worthy of note that this rebirth of learning started in Italy, and the people at the forefront of the rebirth of knowledge were Dante, Petrarch, and Boccaccio. They came up with this initiative in the 13th and the 14th century, and it should be worthy of note that these people were motivated by the fact that the fall of Constantinople made Christians who were running away from the Muslim invaders to carry along with them books that were written by learned Greeks. These books were later on translated into Latin, which was the language that was understood by a good number of Europeans, and this gave a proud place to the rebirth of knowledge. So my dear students, we shall proceed by looking at the factors that contributed to the Renaissance or the rebirth of knowledge. Factors that contributed to the Renaissance or the rebirth of knowledge. The first factor was the fall of Constantinople in the year 1453. The Turks, the Muslims, captured Constantinople, forcing Christians to flee from the cities, carrying along with them books that were later on translated into Latin for easy understanding, given that a majority of the Europeans understood Latin language at the expense of Greek language. So my dear students, these books were consulted by a majority of people who were formerly not abreast with these books, given that the books were in Greek. So the fall of Constantinople in 1453 influenced the rebirth of knowledge positively. We shall proceed by looking at another factor that greatly contributed to the rebirth of knowledge, which is the invention of the printing press. The printing press was invented at around 1455, thanks to the combined efforts of John Gutenberg, Johann Faust, and Peter Schoeffer. These were the people that put their hands together so as to come up with a printing press that could make available books which could be consulted by a good number of Europeans. And as a result, books and manuscripts were made available in larger quantities. This made Europeans and the Italians in particular to read books and they became more educated as compared to how they were before the rebirth of knowledge. So the invention of the printing press went a long way to favor the rebirth of knowledge, or the Renaissance. Furthermore, the development of the Italian city-states equally contributed to the rebirth of knowledge. Here were found people who had wealth, freedom, and the desire to promote arts. So, the development of Italian city-states. So many Italian city-states came up. In these city-states were found prominent, wealthy, freedom, and art-loving people who encouraged others to equally love art. And as a result, many people went in for art. And this went for by favoring the rebirth of knowledge, given that people had the quest to know arts and to equally study books that concerned art. And this went a long way to promote the rebirth of knowledge. Moreover, the establishment of libraries. The establishment of libraries favored the rebirth of knowledge, or the Renaissance, in the sense that great scholars like Pope Nicholas V, who came up powerfully with libraries in 1471 right up to 1484, Pope Sixtus IV, who equally set up libraries, helped the Europeans to study books found in these libraries. These great scholars made available a good number of books that were consulted by people in Italy, that were consulted by the Europeans. And this establishment of libraries went a long way to favor the rebirth of knowledge. Given that in the Dark Ages, people had little or no interest in acquiring knowledge due to the fact that there were no libraries available, there was no printing press, and what have you. But with the advent of all these facilities put in place by these scholars, the rebirth of knowledge was bound to be a success. We shall move further by looking at the idea of remarkable individuals like Peter Abelard and Gilbert. In the 12th century, they came up with ideas that favored the way, that paved the way for the Renaissance. So my dear students, in a nutshell, these people, especially Peter Abelard, came up with the idea that motivated people to start thinking, like the fact that sin is pleasing to man, but not pleasing to God. By doubting, we come to questioning, and by questioning, we come to the truth. These were some of the ideas that were brought forth by Peter Abelard. And these ideas were later on copied by so many people in Rome. And as a result, there was bound to be the advent of the rebirth of knowledge, thus making people to think twice before carrying out their daily activities. So it was thanks to the idea of remarkable individuals like Peter Abelard that the rebirth of knowledge came to place. Last but not the least, the influence of educated women. Educated women like Laura Carreta, who came up in 1469 and 1499 respectively, was felt by so many people in ancient Rome. She was a role model to many women as she studied mathematics, philosophy, theology, Latin and Greek. She did not only stop here, she continued by receiving training in art of painting and dancing. So this woman, Laura Carreta, moved a lot of people in ancient Rome who developed the quest to also carry out studies so as to be like her. So as a result, the rebirth of knowledge was bound to take place thanks to the influence of educated women like Laura Carreta. So in a nutshell, my dear students, these were some of the factors that contributed greatly to the renaissance or the rebirth of knowledge. So I will urge you to study further and know other aspects that led to the rebirth of knowledge. Thank you, dear students, for being very attentive in the course of the lesson. Remain good students that you are, and make sure that you revise these notes as many times as possible so as to have an understanding that will permit you carry out your evaluations with ease. So remain blessed and be good students that you are. This was the end of the lesson. Thank you. Bye-bye.